Good morning. I am Brianna. I'm a licensed psychotherapist. I'm making educational videos for men who are interested in learning more about themselves and or spouses and or partners who are wanting a deeper understanding of why their partners behave in maladaptive ways and are looking for answers to understand some of the patterns that they experience. So today's topic is the feelings of guilt and how they keep men engaged in maladaptive patterns. And what that means is there is a long-standing pattern of being stuck in our own way. And as a result, we make poor choices that don't serve us. And this video is going to talk about how we shift into healthier choices over time and also using a realistic approach. So, guilt, the feeling of guilt, it's a natural response when we feel we've done something wrong. But when it becomes chronic is when we ignore the issue and it stays unresolved and we don't actually face the issue, meaning we said or have done things that were wrong and we feel it in our bodies. We got that pit in our stomach and it leads to self-punishment. That means that we start to develop thoughts that lead us to say to ourselves, we don't actually deserve anything good. We don't deserve any happiness, which leads us to have very low self-worth. We might start engaging in people pleasing. We might say yes to things out of obligation because we feel guilty. But that leads to bigger problems. We end up then becoming resentful in the circumstances or towards the people because we said yes to something that we didn't actually want to. We likely are going to start developing longer term patterns of repetition of making mistakes. We're probably going to continue to make the same choices because we don't actually believe that we can change. So what's the point? So we start to develop this almost woe is me mindset that can be considered victim mentality. What's the point in trying to do anything better? I don't deserve anything better. I'm just a screw up. Another mindset we start to develop over time, if we ignore feelings of guilt, is we will start to actually lead into patterns of avoidance by starting to develop either choices such as using drugs or alcohol, gambling, sex addiction, starting to numb out and trying to avoid feeling the guilt. But we're not actually doing anything to solve the issue. And although I'm portraying a very black and white intellectualized manner, it's not that simple because when we go into spirals, all we know is we feel really uncomfortable in our bodies and we just want to make it go away. But many men internalize guilt instead of actually processing it. That's what leads to patterns of self-sabotage. The key is actually examining our feelings with curiosity, but it's through the means of self-compassion. Now, it's not some woo-woo thing. That's not my style. I like to make things tangible and concrete. What that means is you start to look at the thoughts that you have about yourself that are negative, and you start to examine how true they really are. What are you basing these beliefs off of? Are you basing them off of unhealthy sources of information, like unhealthy people? Are you basing them off of choices you've made in the past? So when we understand our mistakes don't define us, that leads us to have some wiggle room to figure out if perhaps we have negative cognitive distortions about ourselves. So instead of dwelling on the guilt, we can ask ourselves, what can I learn from the choices I've made? How did they impact people around me? How did those choices impact me? Did I get me further along with my spouse or my partner? Or am I continuing to actually make the cycle bigger and worse? Examining what we can actually do to change the circumstances means we're going to have to lean into the feelings of guilt. Just like in the other video, I talked about leaning into the thing that we're avoiding, we have to lean towards the feeling of guilt. Guilt shouldn't guide in any way, but it can control us. If we are sitting with really intense feelings of guilt, we're not actually doing anything to take accountability and face what we've done wrong so that we can actually get it out of our bodies and feel lighter so we can start to make changes. Believe me, I work with people all day long who feel so uncomfortable about the choices they've made, and they're afraid of judgment just by saying it out loud, even in therapy sessions with me. And they end up leaving the session after getting it out and saying, I feel so much lighter. That's the process we're looking to aim towards. I really hope this gave you a little bit of insight. I really hope this was helpful just for you to get a little deeper understanding of yourself or your spouse. And hopefully, this is just sparking your curiosity so that you can look at yourself through a lens without shaming or judging yourself.